Hello and welcome to the video where you will learn how to use simulation on building climate-resilient water sanitation and hygiene services in healthcare facility. My name is Arkady Vodyanik. I am Technical Officer on Infection Prevention and Control and Antimicrobial Resistance in World Health Organization Country Office in Ukraine and developer of this tabletop simulation. The main aim of the simulation is to improve knowledge and skills on how to build climate-resilient wash services in healthcare facility. This simulation can be used as awareness-raising tool for public health professionals, hospital leadership, and any other people who are interested in wash and climate resilience. But also, this simulation can be used as a training tool for wash specialists. Let's have a look inside the simulation set that you will need to be able to run the simulation. This simulation set is available in English and Ukrainian, and limited number of copies are available in WHO country office in Ukraine and can be provided upon the request. Standard facilitation set consists of following parts. Facilitation manual, where you will find all necessary information on how to run this simulation. 4 cards of climate events. Water pipes. Set of cards. Playing cubes. And coins. Let's have a closer look on how to set up the simulation. Here you can see the preparations that you should do before the simulation. You can find the photo with the setup on page 3 of the facilitation manual, and you need just to repeat how the field should look like. But let's have a closer look to the elements that we have now. In the middle, we have healthcare facility. This healthcare facility consists of 7 different units. These are intensive care unit, maternity unit, surgery, therapeutic unit, kitchen, other services, and emergency unit. For the purpose of the simulation, we do not need to specify how many beds we have in each of the units, so it can be any random number you would like to, like 10 beds, 20 beds. It's not critical for the simulation. Then we have 4 domains of the game. The first domain is the water supply. Second one is the electricity. Another one is waste management, and another one is sanitation. We will talk about each domain in more details in a couple of seconds. Then we have a climate events, and as you can see here, the cards of the climate events are hidden from the participants. And also we have here the cards of experts. Those experts will help participants during the simulation. And also we have coins that will represent the credits, the financial resources that participants will have. Before the simulation, it is important to provide some brief information to the participants on what will happen. The story is that the healthcare facility was built in the low resource settings in the country with a low income. And this healthcare facility consists of 7 units, as we know, and participants are the WASH team that needs to take care of 4 domains: water, electricity, waste management, and sanitation. The team should not deal with the treatment of patients or diagnosis of patients or any other type of care, but they need to improve these 4 domains that are critical for the functionality of the healthcare facility. Also, some nasty climate events will happen to this healthcare facility during the simulation, and the team should manage these climate events. Let's have a closer look to the domains and the situation that this healthcare facility has at the moment. So regarding the water supply, they have a lake which is situated 750 meters from the hospital, and people are manually taking water from this lake. And this type of water supply is considered at the level of no service, and currently the mark for this water supply is -2. The second one is electricity, and there is no electricity in this healthcare facility currently, and the total score is -2 for this domain. For the waste management, there is no waste separation or treatment, and the level is no service and also -2 points. For the sanitation, the pit latrines are not functioning, and the final score is also -2 for the sanitation. So the final score for the healthcare facility at the beginning of the simulation is -8, so -2 for each of the domains. The main task of the team is during 4 rounds gradually improve each of the domains to achieve limited services, basic services, and advanced services in these domains. While improving the domain, participants will receive the higher points. So the limited services will give them -1, basic services 0, and advanced will give 1 point. The main task of the participants is to score the more points at the end of the simulation. The points can be achieved by improving their domains and by also proper management of the climate events. But we will talk about this in a second. At the beginning of simulation, you should provide step-by-step guidance to the participants, and this guidance is written on the page 2 of the facilitation manual. So first of all, you should provide some brief information about the units that they have, also about domains, and also you should show them the cards of the experts. So in this game, there are 9 experts that can support participants. Each expert can be hired by the team, and as soon as this expert is hired, his or her ability will support participants by the end of the game. But before hiring the consultants and experts, you need to provide the funding to the participants which they can use to improve their wash services. At the beginning of the simulation, team will receive 250 credits, and you can calculate the necessary amount of coins that team should have and provide these coins to the team. There are 4 stages in each round. The first stage is so-called developmental stage. So the participants should think what improvements they would like to do, how they would like to develop their healthcare facility. Once they decided to do any type of the adjustment to the water services, electricity, waste management, or sanitation, they need to communicate requests to the facilitator. Here you can adjust the complexity of the game. So if it is the awareness raising game, you can provide some type of the advice and show some cards to the participants so to help them with their decision. If you play with the wash experts, you can ask them to provide detailed technical requirements for the adjustments they would like to have. Let's see what kinds of cards they can have. For example, participants would like to have water supply not from the open water source, but from the borehole. Borehole will cost 15 credits to the participants. You need to communicate to this price to the participants, and after they agree that they will pay 15 credits for the borehole, you can provide this card to them, and once they procure this card, you should put it open near the domain and deduct 15 credits from their bank. So you take 20 credits and you give them 5 back. Now they have a borehole, and borehole provides water to all of the healthcare facility. After you did any improvement to the healthcare facility, you should check how it influenced the level of services in each of the domains. So for the water, it is changed to the limited water supply, which means that water is available from the protected water source. we need to change the no services to limited. So you can see here the score is -1, and also we should reflect this change in the department. So if you can see here, each of the department has the squares for the cubes, and there are 3 squares of each color. So blue one reflects water supply, yellow reflects electricity, green reflects sanitation, and red reflects waste management. So if we have a limited water supply, we need to put 1 blue cube on each of the departments, reflecting that the water supply was improved for each unit in the healthcare facility. Let's discuss another example. For example, healthcare facility decided to procure waste, for example, sharp containers for the departments. But they decided to procure sharp containers not for all units, but only for 2, for intensive care unit and maternity unit. So we can see that the cost of this container is 3 credits. If they would like to procure it for 2 departments, they need to pay 6 credits. So we should deduct 6 credits and give 4 to them back. We should put this card here, and we should also reflect where the sharp containers will be used. So for this one, you can put red cube on the intensive care and maternity unit where they were procured. And this will reflect that now in these units, they can have a separation of waste to the sharp and non-sharp waste. But as you can see, the improvements of the waste management were not total for all of the hospital. That is why we do not change the overall level of no service to the next one. We can change the overall level of the waste management or sanitation or electricity when each of the unit has the same level of improvement. It can be first level, limited, second level, basic, or third level, advanced. During the developmental stage, participants are trying to improve all of 4 domains. And at some point, they will be either short in their resources because they have only 250 credits, or they might think that this is enough and they would like to stop the developmental stage. Once participants decided that this will be enough for this round to improve, you start the second stage, which is called the control phase. The next phase of the simulation is a controlling phase, where you need to control the quality of water. Among the water supply cards, there are 2 cards that are of interest for this round. The first one is the test for fecal indicator bacteria, and another one is the water test on residual chlorine. So how to use these cards during the developmental phase? For example, participants bought fecal indicator bacteria tests, and you should do this test. How you can do it? By rolling the dice. So you just roll the dice and see the result. If it is 1 or 2, there is no bacteria in the water. If it is 3 or 4, there is a moderate contamination of the water. And if there is a 5 or 6, there is a severe contamination of water. Here we have 4, so it means that there were bacteria present in the water. Then participants might want to deal with the quality of water by different approaches. And one of them is a water chlorination. And we also have a water test on residual chlorine. And if they bought this test on residual chlorine, you should test the water. You can do it by rolling the dice. You roll the dice and you assess the result. So if the result is 1 or 2, the water is not properly chlorinated. If it is 3 or 4, it is properly chlorinated, and if it is 5 or 6, it's over-chlorinated. So we have here 4, it means it's properly chlorinated, which means that it will deal with the microbial contamination that are present. So in case participants did the fecal indicator bacteria test and water chlorination or any other approach to address the water quality, you just skip the water control phase, saying that participants did everything correctly. But let's imagine the situation that participants forgot to test the water on the presence of fecal indicator bacteria. Then you should do it for them. So at this stage, you roll the dice, and if it is 3, 4, 5, and 6, so higher than 1 or 2, it means that bacteria are present in the water, participants did not manage the situation, and you should deduct 1 point from their score. So you should write down that the control phase, the score is -1. If there is no bacteria in the water, then there will be 0, like no penalty. But if the water is chlorinated, but they didn't check the level of chlorination, and you check the level of chlorination for them, and this is 1 or 2, so below the needed level, you say to them that the water is chlorinated below the recommended level, and you also have a penalty -1. So in the control phase, participants can get either 0 points when everything is done correctly, or there is no bacteria in the water, or they can have -1 if you detect bacteria for them. The third phase of the round, I think is the most important and most interesting one, is the action phase. So during this phase, you need to open the first climate event that will happen to the healthcare facility. So you just put the card that is on top and put it here to the participants. So there are 3 modes of the simulation that we have and advise to you. The first is standard one, where you put the climate events in the exact sequence. The first climate event will be flood, the second climate event will be drought, the third climate event will be disease outbreak, and the fourth event will be extreme temperatures of -40 Celsius. So you can play this order of climate events as a standard approach. Another approach is that you select the climate events randomly by shuffling the deck and then deciding what climate event will happen. Once you play the climate event, you can put the climate event aside, so you know that there will not be duplications of the climate events, and you will have new climate events each phase. The third mode is that you will select the climate event randomly and then leave them in the same deck, which can result that you will have, for example, several floods during the simulation. Any option is possible. However, we recommend you to start with the option where you predefine the sequence of the climate events, and then as you run the simulation for the second time or third time, you can change the mode of the simulation. So, as the third phase, you open the event, and this is flood. The climate event card consists of 4 different parts, and I will go through each of these parts. First one is that you need to identify the intensity of the climate event. There are 3 possible intensities: low, medium, and high. How you need to evaluate this intensity? You should roll a dice. And if the result is 1 or 2, then this is low intensity. If 3 or 4, then medium. If 5 or 6, then high intensity. Here we have 1, which means that this is a low intensity. But on top of the intensity that we predefined, we need to look at the modifiers, because the level of development of our healthcare facility will also influence on the impact of the climate event. So what we need to do is to check what is written at the bottom of each card that is open to us. Here we can see that because we have no services in our waste management, we have increased intensity of flood by 1. And here, because we have no services for the sanitation, we have that increased intensity of flood by 2. So we increase our intensity low by 1, which make it medium, and then by 2, which make it high, and we cannot go beyond high. So it means that our intensity is high during this round. When we identify the intensity, we need to see what impact this will cause. I will read the impact. The impact will be that microbial contamination of water cannot be managed with water chlorination. So we need to think about any other sources of water that will not be contaminated. And we have 3 conditions that participants can achieve at the end of this phase. One is that they will not manage the microbial contamination of water. If they will not be able to manage the water contamination, they will receive -2 points. If they will be able to detect and avert the microbial contamination, then they will receive 0 points. But if they will be able to avert the contamination, but also they collect rainwater, they will receive +1 point for this phase. It is written in the intensity that the heavy rains will last for 1 month, which means that they need to collect rainwater during this 1 month. Here in the water supply, you will be able to find cards that will allow healthcare facility to collect rainwater, to deliver water from other places, etc. And there are many options how participants can manage this situation. Of course, they need to have funds to procure these cards. If they do not have funds, unfortunately, they cannot procure any improvements for the healthcare facility. Once they finished with dealing with the event, you need to assess the condition. Were they able to manage the water quality? Were they able to collect water, rainwater or not? Then you assign the point. Let's say that we were not able to manage the water quality and water contamination, so we will receive -2 for this climate event. And the last phase is a calculation phase. During this phase, you should determine how many credits the team will have at the end of this round. How we can do this? We should roll the dice, and if the score is 1, 2, or 3, participants will receive additional 75 credits. If the score is 4, 5, and 6, participants will receive additional 100 credits. Here we have 6, so we will give to our participants additional 100 credits to their bank, and we will receive the second round of the simulation. At any point of the simulation, participants can decide that they would like to hire an expert. For example, if they decided to hire the water resource specialist, it will cost participants 10 credits, but this specialist will allow them to buy any water supply cards by 2 credits cheaper. So they need to give 10 credits, and then we will put the expert here near the participants, which will mean that this expert is now activated and can give the effect, so discount for any of the water supply cards. For example, another expert that they would like to have is a wash leader. If you have this card, this will allow you to have an income at the level of 100 credits each round, regardless of the result of the dice. And, for example, they would like to have a climatologist. So the climatologist will also cost 10 credits as any other expert, but this specialist will allow you to know which climate event will happen in advance. So participants decided to have these 3 experts, and because they have climatologists, we open the next event already to them, so they know that there will be a drought, but they do not know the intensity of the drought. But they can prepare. For example, participants decided to buy the water pipes for their healthcare facility. So the water pipe cost 8 credits. but with a discount from the water resource specialist, because it's a water supply card, one pipe will cost 6 credits. So we put here the pipe, and we need 2 water pipes to connect the borehole with the healthcare facility. And then we need 1 water pipe to connect one department with another. So using water pipes, we can supply water to each of the departments, and we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pipes. 8 pipes multiplied 6 will be 48, and we need to deduct these credits from participants. Please be aware that pipes cannot exist alone. You need to also procure the sink so to be able to supply water. And please, as a facilitator, always try to visualize what happened in the healthcare facility in real life. And if you have just only pipe in the healthcare facility, it doesn't mean that patients or health and care workers can use it. So you need to sink, or you need toilet if you talk about sanitation, etc. So the same will go with the pipes for the sanitation. You can install them to have a septic tank or to have the central treatment of wastes. Once participants finished with their development, you go to the second phase, which is the control phase. You are checking their water contamination and chlorination as we did the previous round. I will not go into the details. And then you manage the drought. Before managing the drought, you need to understand the intensity. So you will roll the dice, and now we have 4. 4, it means medium. And then we need to check any other modifiers here. We do not have any modifiers that increase the severity of drought, so the drought will be medium. Then we should look at the condition, and following the condition, we should make the changes. At the end of this phase, you will assess the condition and assign the points to the participants. For example, all patients were with water all the time, which is +1. So we record this +1 to the participants, and we detect the amount of funds that they need to receive. Because they have now wash leader, we do not need to roll the dice. They will receive 100 credits, and we need to provide these extra credits to the participants. After this, we will start the third round. Third round is absolutely the same as the previous one. You have some funds and time to improve your healthcare facility. Once you improve some of the domains in the department, you should reflect it by putting the cubes on cards. For example, you improve the electricity from no services to the level of basic, which means that electricity source exists and functional in all units. You should put 2 yellow cubes in each department to reflect that now all of your healthcare facility has the basic level of electricity supply. Please note that you can change the domain only when all units have the same level of the domain. If, for example, only one unit was improved and others were not, you cannot change the domain. And if you improve 6 units, but 1 unit is behind in terms of the development, you cannot change the domain. The sequence of phases are absolutely the same in the round 3, control phase and then action phase. And in this action phase, we will have a disease outbreak. Disease outbreak is a special climate event which has one difference from all other climate events. The climate event card disease outbreak is a little bit special. You can see here that there are 4 levels of intensity: minimal, low, medium, and high. Minimum intensity means that event will not happen. So let's look at the situation when we roll the dice and the intensity of event is 1, which means it's low. Then we check all of the cards and we see that none of the cards can increase the intensity of the disease outbreak. And if it is so, then we have a low intensity. But some of the cards can reduce intensity of the event. Like for example, civil protection expert can decrease intensity of any climate event by 1. So if the participants will decide to hire this expert and pay 10 credits, they will reduce intensity from low to minimum, and which means that disease outbreak will not happen, and participants will receive +1 point, which is mentioned in the outcome. You cannot reduce intensity of the event lower than the lower level for any other climate event. Only for disease outbreak this is possible. Also, you cannot go higher than the higher intensity. In the disease outbreak, when we talk about the medium or high intensity, we are talking of outbreak of 2 diseases. One is the shigellosis and another one West Nile infection. And there, participants need to apply measures to control the mosquito spread and also spread of the bacteria in the water using the cards that are available. After the disease outbreak, you evaluate the performance of the participants, and let's say they score 1 point. Then you need to calculate their income, and they will have 100 credits in this situation because they have a wash leader. And we go to the 4th and final round of the game. The final round is absolutely the same as the previous ones. You need to buy cards, and once you buy the card, you need to put it openly near and deduct the credits from participants. Then you should see, are these improvements are common for all of the healthcare facility, and if yes, then you change the level from no service to limited or to basic or to advanced, depending on the criteria which are written at the bottom of the cards. Once the developmental phase is over, you ask participants to proceed to the next stage, which is control phase. And here I would like to point your attention that both cards, water testing for residual chlorine and also fecal indicator bacteria tests, valid only for 1 round. So if participants bought them in round 3, at the round 4 they should appear laying like this. And if they would like to buy this test 1 more time, then they pay the credits and you can open this test. So once the round is finished, do not forget to close the cards which are valid for 1 round, and these are testing cards. Then after control phase, we go into the outbreak or action phase, and now it's a temperature extreme, also with different types of intensity, impact, conditions that you should fulfill, and outcomes. You also roll the dice and see that it's 5, it's high intensity, and then you see the condition and try to manage this condition. There are some experts that will allow you to decrease the intensity, like we talk about civil protection expert, but also there are experts who will allow you to know the intensity before the event happened. So if participants will buy this expert, you need to roll the dice and determine the intensity and inform about the intensity during the developmental phase. And then when the action phase comes, participants will be fully aware of type of the event, but also its intensity. After the completion of action phase at the round 4, you should calculate the total points and the total result of the simulation. It should be done by calculating the points at each domain, and let's count it together. For example, for water supply, we have a limited level, which is -1. For electricity, we have now basic level, which is 0. For waste management, -2. And for sanitation, advanced +1. So if we will combine -1, +1, 0, and -2, we will have -2. And then we need to calculate the points from quality control phase. You remember that during our first round, there was -1, and then let's say that participants did okay and received 0. So we add -1, so we have now -3. And then we should add all of the points from the management of climate events. So it was -2 for flood, it was +1 for drought, and it was +1 for outbreak, and let's say it was 0 for temperature extreme, so in overall it's 0. So the total score will be a combination of this -2 from domains, -1 from quality control, and 0 from outbreak management, which is -3. The condition is that if teams score 1 and above, they succeed, and if they score 0 and below, they fail the simulation. The maximum score you can get from this simulation is 8 points. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and you will enjoy this simulation, and you can use it as an awareness raising tool, and then maybe you would like to show the cards to participants more and to give them some hints. But also you can use it as a part of the training on WASH services implementation in the healthcare facilities. Then you might want to ask more questions to participants and then give them cards only upon the detailed request how they would like to improve WASH services. I would like to say that there are a number of ways on how you can build waste management services. You can use incineration, you can use autoclaves for disinfection, transportation of waste. There are a number of ways how you can supply healthcare facility with the water, or improve sanitation, or improve electricity. There are a number of climate-friendly initiatives that participants can use during this simulation. So this simulation can be used several times, and participants can explore different approaches on how to improve WASH services and to make them climate resilient. Also, the prices can be adjusted to the prices that you have in your country. So you are free to adjust the prices for the development and not to use standard one if you wish to. So wish you good luck in playing this simulation.